The biggest concern on people's minds right now is nuclear fallout.
We're predicting another similar type market crash. It's going to be worse than 2008.
The higher up the socioeconomic strata you are, the more you are prepared.
Something big will happen within the next 10 years. In my gut, I feel it.
Techies can see that future coming, and therefore they react to that future even though it hasn't arrived yet.
Go, 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 go!
I think Silicon Valley has largely become part of the problem.
Everything here is a plan for a deteriorating situation.
We're in the most tense times since World War II, or since the
how's,
Cold War.
How's business right now for you?
Well, it's booming.
Yeah.
This is Ron Hubbard. He builds doomsday bunkers for the apocalypse, the stuff of disaster movies and nuclear nightmares.
As well as how nice they are.
The old school survivalists are preparing for just about anything.
And a shelter has many forms of protection. It could be a volcano erupting, it could be hurricanes in Florida, but first and foremost, the biggest concern on people's minds right now is nuclear fallout. Like I said, fallout shelters are becoming very commonplace. If the president gets threatened, where do they take him?
Bunker.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Why do they take him to a bunker?
Protection.
Now, it doesn't take a smart man to figure out the safest place to be during most threats is underground.
It's not new to prepare for catastrophe. But today, there's a new kind of prepper, the Silicon Valley elite. And they believe they're preparing for a doomsday scenario of their own making, with automation setting up the economy to crash under the weight of global debt.
Most of the people who are on board this wagon are professionals. So they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're tech executives. This is a very mainstream phenomenon. It's just not talked about in the mainstream.
Adam Taggart gave up his Silicon Valley lifestyle as a VP for Yahoo to prepare for a new world he sees as inevitable, with changes so drastic they are hard to imagine.
The next 20 years are going to look completely unlike the last 20 years. And the reason for that, many different potential threats or challenges to our way of life, if you will. We look at them in three areas: in the economy, in our energy systems, and in the environment.
Now his main business is advising people on how to prepare for collapse, and many of his clients are Silicon Valley's wealthiest.
Those with the money, and I realize this is the 0.001% we're talking about, but are buying retreat properties either here in America or internationally. And I think that got people's attention of, all right, these are legit smart people. What do they know that we don't know?
While the tech guys are most focused on sustaining quality of life after a collapse, traditional preppers are more concerned about the actual days of disaster, a guns and bunkers moment when society breaks down and every man must fend for himself.
Now this is an actual Atlas shelter under construction. Let me show you the way it works.
Okay.
You actually would come down the staircase into this room here. This is called the mud room or the decontamination room. You can put the corpse in here because they're going to develop methane gas, and then you can let it leak out of here.
A lot of really dark scenarios you got to consider.
I know it sounds creepy and it sounds bad, but you got to live with reality. This isn't a toy.
Ron has been building bunkers for years, but it's only recently that he started selling to the tech guys.
If you have the money, you have a bunker. It's just a fact of life now. Those who have money have bunkers.
The techies are buying bunkers and guns. It's just the reason behind it that seems to be different.
I think the type of stereotypical tinfoil hat, doomsday prepper type guy that you're mentioning, I think he's doing it from a very different point of view. It's almost a non-emotional decision. It's almost just sort of a Vulcan choice of, hey, the data is telling me this, and so therefore a prudent empiricist like myself would take these steps.
Ron took us to the home of a client under the condition that we keep the location secret and not reveal the name of the owner.
And the door opens, and there's your bunker. And I just sit on the couch and watch TV as the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
It's not a bad way to ride out the apocalypse. We got powdered eggs right here. That's a whole lot of powdered eggs.
Here, back up. Let me show you something here.
Uh-oh.
Underneath this floor here is his storage. Okay?
This is one of the smaller bunkers. Ron says he's never been allowed to film in larger bunkers that he builds for his wealthiest clients.
Those people aren't going to let me go and film in their backyard.
Why not?
No, look, the money doesn't mean nothing to them, but their security does. They're more secret about their shelter than they are about their bank accounts. They don't want people to know that they have it. I mean, it doesn't matter that they maybe spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on their bunker. That is their family's security.
The secretive nature of prepping makes collecting data on the movement nearly impossible. But the word in Silicon Valley is that some secret doomsday retreats cost well into the millions.
So I'm Antonio Garcia Martinez. I am former startup founder, former Facebook product manager and Twitter advisor. And now I'm just a boat bum living on this boat and prepping for our dark future.
After he bailed on Silicon Valley, Antonio bought property on a Pacific Northwest island. He currently lives on a sailboat, due in part to fears of an economic collapse.
And at some point I'll build a cabin, electricity, solar panels, all the basics of living in a northwestern forest on, a few acres up there.
Food, generators,
Well,
gas,
we're getting there. We're
guns.
getting there. We're planning. Definitely guns.
Yeah.
Definitely some gas. Definitely generators. Lots of those.
One of Antonio's biggest concerns is automation and what that will do to the economy.
When I started talking to normal people, like people in the boating world, the car, whatever, people outside of tech, right? And they tell me what they do, and every single time I could think of some startup or Y Combinator company that basically is working madly to code them out of a job. Like literally almost every normal job that I can hear about, right?
Yeah, no, that's concerning.
Yeah,
it's
really
kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, most humans just won't have any salable labor in a few years.
It's hard not to wonder what people will do for a living if so many jobs become automated so quickly.
And so I think techies can see that future coming, and therefore they react to that future even though it hasn't arrived yet.
It's 100% fatal. There is no cure. We're bugging out to the cabin.
Techies have long been at the polar opposite of prepping, a guns and bunkers culture popularized by TV shows like National Geographic's Doomsday Preppers. Braxton Southwick and his family were featured a few years back.
When I first started this, I was crazy. Everybody thought I was nuts. Now I've got the whole neighborhood involved, all my friends, everybody's involved in it because it's become mainstream. I actually plan for everything.
What are some of the other things you plan for?
My biggest thing was a biological chemical attack, just because it was so cheap and easy for a terrorist to get a hold of that. Just like this, with my tennis shoes, my clothes on, I don't change anything. And my sealed gloves. I don't want to sound crazy, but I really think something big will happen within the next 10 years. I really do. And that's why I'm so prepared. You could feel it, okay? Animals can sense danger, and as humans, I think we're just as much as any animal, and some of us can really feel it. Something's on the horizon. We could feel it. We don't know what it is. We can't see it, but I'm telling you, in my gut, I feel it.
Oh, I can hear you pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't expect that.
They do really well.
Yeah.
And you can see my face and my eyes.
Braxton walked us through the basics of prepping, from his extensive food storage, to the chickens in the backyard, the bug-out bags he keeps for each person in his family, and the extensive arsenal he keeps at ready.
Whatever is coming, I mean, you guys are ready for it. The entire North Korean army, you guys are ready for it right now.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to deal with those guys.
Back in San Francisco, the worries do include biological and nuclear attacks, though economic collapse is the top concern. And one venture capitalist told me he's doing all he can to be prepared.
Do you see all this innovation, especially with automation, do you see it leading to a big rise in unemployment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm terrified by that. To the point where it's wow, if we don't manage this very well, it's going to cause a new French Revolution, right?
It's not just a fringe idea. The president of the World Bank recently sounded a blaring alarm about automation.
Accelerations in technology are changing the landscape. We estimate that 2/3 of all jobs that currently exist in developing countries will be wiped out by automation.
The tech guys might have different reasons for preparing, but they use techniques honed by the classic prepper. So I went to talk to the experts at the world's biggest prepping trade show.
This is the holy grail right here of traditional preppers. You got everything. You got your bug-out bags, you got medical supplies, food, renewable energy, I mean, anything you could ever want, guns, it's right here.
There was a hurricane simulator, a survivalist fashion show,
Make some more noise for Josh! Bulletproof vest. It's actually soft body armor.
Search dogs.
But she does pretty good at lying down when she smells the cadavers.
And this guy taught me how to clear a room.
Back in, look at the attitude of the pistol. I'm gonna clean out every vital organ of his body. Slice, 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 and when you get out here, I'm gonna cross to the other side. Alright? So I'm gonna clear this side. So if this was a room, I'm clearing this side, you're clearing that side. Bang, 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 bang! We have a bad guy. Okay? Don't stick your head out. Because you just got right into my shot. Don't point at my head. Point that way. Go ahead, I'll lead.
What makes this unique?
Okay, so it's on the AR-15 platform, but rather than using 5.56, it's using standard 9mm ammo. So your ammo cost is going to be about half the cost.
Things get really bad and we get really primitive. Samurai sword, number one thing you gotta have in your bunker.
But it wasn't as crazy as I thought it might be. There were regular people there with good ideas on how to prepare for catastrophes.
Just doing some food storage, basically. Food storage, a little bit of fuel, tools. Tools are always good.
Bug out bags.
If people are afraid, then they'll buy it. But it's much more popular than it used to be.
Why do you think that is?
I just think that people understand that the world is a more uncertain place.
It's not just the bunker business noticing new clients. Jeff Davis runs a business that sells prepper supplies.
We sell anything from, a 1 week supply all the way up to a 1 year supply, and every increment in between.
Jeff told me he's not surprised to hear that wealthy Californians are stocking up.
When you've got something to lose, you buy insurance. And our food is just another form of insurance. And so when you've got something to lose, you're going to prepare and try to mitigate that loss.
You do think about well, do I have enough food? Do I have the skills? I took a lot of classes and things in wilderness survival and urban survival, martial arts, and it's interesting. Number one, it's fun, but I took a lot of took shooting classes and martial arts and all these things.
Is that common amongst your friends and other people in the industry?
My take is that the higher up the socioeconomic strata you are, the more you are prepared, right? Because the more you are aware of the potential backlash, and also the more resources you have, and so the more you think about it.
Not only that, but the more that people are advancing automation, the more they can see the possible consequences. Brad Peters is a senior software engineer for Intel.
Would you describe yourself as a prepper?
Yeah, absolutely.
These programs that you're developing, you're fully aware, these are gonna make a lot of jobs obsolete.
Yes, that's what I mean. There's a flip side to this. It's fun to do, but the societal impact is really above and beyond the scope of what we do.
In the long term, there's a lot of people without jobs now. And that leads to situations like you've described, which you're actively preparing for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Many occupations are nearly certain to disappear to automation in the near future. Airline pilots and real estate agents may be a bit more surprising than typists or accountants.
What I see is a future where you have a lot of people trying to consume, but the current mechanism for wealth redistribution throughout the entire world, as far as I know, is you contribute labor to get a portion of the productivity or the product of that labor.
A lot of these guys believe that unemployment due to automation affected the recent election, helping Trump win the presidency.
So we feel like the 2008 market crash was just a wake-up call. And I mentioned we've sort of papered over the problem since then. In a sense, what we've done is we've just made those problems worse and we've pushed them off to a future date. So we're predicting another similar type market crash, just sadly one that's going to be worse than 2008.
Even as all debt in America has skyrocketed, growth simply isn't at the rates needed to service that debt. Something these tech guys say spells trouble.
What makes you sell this and move into a trailer in a rural area in the woods?
I don't want to be in a neighborhood as these things go down.
So we drove out to a 70-acre plot of land outside Portland. Brad had only recently started building out the property, and he walked me through some of his plans to make it off-grid and self-sustainable.
Doing this sort of thing while the economy overall is in good shape is easy, right? What if Amazon's not there? How do you do that? The conveniences can disappear really quick. But if you do things a little bit in advance, it's not terribly hard. I think a lot of it was, 2008, 2009. I think honestly that going through that crash, I think it led a lot of people to slowly, like something to ferment, in the back of their minds about, God, what can I do? Just little things here and there to be careful, to be cautious, and take steps.
Got everything for sustainability, resilience, you're prepared for most options. In terms of like security, if things hit the fan, is that what this is for right here?
Absolutely, self-defense, man.
Yeah.
It's not about aggressively going out and seeking trouble, but it's about being able to defend yourself if you need to. Everything here is a plan for a deteriorating situation, right? Storing food, having energy sources, but if people are straight up attacking, let me tell you, it's such a low probability thing, but if it happens, then yeah. I mean,
you're prepared for it.
It's to the extent that a person can be.
The irony here is that these guys can see their own industry helping cause the next collapse. But without the tools to stop it, they are instead preparing to survive the catastrophic result.
It's like, you motherfuckers created this whole situation, and now that the bill comes due and the shit hits the fan, right? You're just gonna take off and leave us holding the bag with this bullshit, right? Like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to sit around and sort of fix it, because that's the notion of like some level of civic duty. And that's, I have to say, yeah, that's the right reaction to have to that. That's right.
If shit hits the fan, if things actually go really, really, really south, whatever you have you become a target, right? At that point, you can either defend yourself or you can't, and you're just a big treasure trove, and ultimately, you have to be willing to pull that trigger if it comes right down to it.
Hey everyone, this is Danny Gold with AJ+. Be sure to take a look at the rest of our doc series Divided America, where we take a look at how the prepper movement is being embraced by the Silicon Valley elite, refugees leaving America for Canada, the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and the battle over land rights in America. Thanks for watching.